So yesterday, Scott Bessent, the new U.S. Treasury Secretary, sparked a storm with one single comment. When asked about Bitcoin, he said, "We're not going to be buying it, but we are going to use confiscated assets to continue to build that out, and we're going to stop selling it." The implication is that the U.S. won't be building the strategic Bitcoin reserve that President Trump ordered back in March, a reserve he promised would grow and help make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world. Markets and commentators pounced, and people began asking if the administration was backtracking on its campaign promises. And a few hours later, Bessent took to X to clarify and potentially do damage control, saying that the strategic Bitcoin reserve was being established and that the Treasury is committed to exploring budget-neutral pathways to acquiring more Bitcoin. That's a much more nuanced stance, and it's possible the earlier comment was poorly phrased, but here's the point that too many people are missing. It doesn't matter whether or not the US buys any more Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a $2.4 trillion asset because of a problem that has nothing to do with government demand and everything to do with how governments run their economies. Global sovereign debt is at $102 trillion, and in total, global debt is $324 trillion. Compare that to global GDP of $110 trillion. That means global debt is already 3 times the size of our global economic output. And if we only look at sovereign debt, it's about to eclipse our GDP too. Central banks and governments can't escape the cycle. They have to monetize their debt as the demand for it falls due to accelerating issuance. In other words, print more money out of thin air to keep the system afloat. Every new dollar, euro, or yen they create devalues the existing supply. This is something that you already know because you're watching this video. This isn't a someday problem. This is happening right now. In the US, empty money supply has risen by more than $3.6 trillion in just the past 5 years. In Japan, the BOJ has doubled its balance sheet since 2013, and in Europe, the ECB bought more than 5 trillion euros in assets in less than a decade. Bitcoin exists as a counterweight to that system. It's the only absolutely scarce monetary asset on the planet. There will only ever be 21 million, and only about 1.1 million remain to be mined over the next 115 years. That scarcity is immune to politics, immune to budgets, and immune to policy shifts, such as the one that we almost experienced today. So when people panic because the US might not be aggressively buying Bitcoin, they're missing the bigger picture. Bitcoin's value doesn't come from whether or not governments buy it. It comes from the fact that governments can't stop inflating away the value of their own currencies. And that's the one thing that isn't changing, no matter who's in charge or what the press release says. And if you understand that, the day-to-day political noise fades into the background. The signal is the same as it's always been. The United States can't stop creating new money, and the exit door is 21 million units wide. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and follow for more, and of course reshare so more people can see this. And check out Horizon. Horizon lets you stack Bitcoin using your home equity without new debt, monthly payments, interest charges, or term limits. You can check that out at joinhorizon.com or by scanning the QR code right there. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.